Hi guys, as part of BBC Five Live's Mum Takeover today to raise awareness for maternal mental health, I wanted to share my story about how I suffered with postnatal depression when my firstborn entered the world. His name's Arjun. It was a very lonely time. I had so many people around me, but I still felt so alone. I wasn't really sure about what was causing my loneliness. I think a lot of it was to do with self-doubt and a lack of confidence. I couldn't take Arjun out alone anywhere. I didn't feel confident. I didn't know if I'd be able to cope if, he needed a nappy change or if he needed to be fed or if he had a tantrum. I used to get really overwhelmed. When I fell pregnant with my second son, again, it was quite a lonely and sad kind of pregnancy, but I'm not sure why. Perhaps I anticipated how I would feel and I was a little bit more clued on as to, what postnatal depression was. I was quite lucky that I had early intervention from the mental health team at the hospital, so I had counselling frequently. I was prepared to go through all the kind of emotions that I did when I had Arjun. In addition, I had the mum guilt of, my firstborn kind of having to grow up really quickly. What I wasn't prepared for was the unexpected diagnosis that our second son was born with. He was born with Down syndrome. I remember when he was first born saying to my husband, I've never felt so happy. I was clueless. I had no idea. I couldn't see any differently. But when I look at him, when I look at his baby pictures now, I can see it clear as day. A lot of my memory has kind of been blacked out during that period. I can't remember the day that he was born, other than that moment before we received his diagnosis, 9 hours after he was born. I wasn't prepared to cope with what I've been through the last year. It's been a very dark and scary journey, and if it wasn't for my children, I'm not sure if I would still be here, is the truth. I leaned heavily on Arjun, my firstborn, which I feel quite guilty about. I took a lot of comfort in him. I think a lot of it was to do with the grieving process of not giving birth to the son that I thought I was going to give birth to. The fear of being a special needs mum. How was I going to do that? I'm not that mum. I'm not, the mum that sits down every evening and studies with her kids. I'm just not that mum, and I feel awful for admitting it, but it's the truth. I leaned a lot on my sisters and my sister-in-law. The older generation, I think I've always found, don't quite get mental health, especially after having a baby. Their attitude is a little bit like, well, get on with it. But I did lean on them for support with the children, which was brilliant. I don't know what I would have done without both sets of parents. My husband, he also obviously has ridden his own journey, and we've literally held each other's hands through the journey. Our coping mechanisms are very different. I went through a very long period of withdrawing from the world, and I guess I didn't realise that's what I was doing. I didn't really take the kids out. I refused play dates. I didn't really see my friends as much as I should have. It's only very recently I've started meeting up with friends and their children. I'm so grateful to the support network that I have. I'm really aware that not everybody gets that same support. But despite having all that support, I still felt really sad and lonely. And although I'm in a much better place now, I still do sometimes feel very, very sad and lonely. But as time goes on, I will get stronger, and my children are my biggest strength. My family is my biggest strength. My advice to you would be seek help, talk to somebody. I found that counselling didn't really help this time, but psychotherapy did. If you want details on my psychotherapist, I'm more than happy to share those with you. Be patient, be kind to yourself, ride your emotions, don't fight them. The more you tell yourself you shouldn't be feeling a certain way, the more likely you are to feel that way. give yourself baby steps. So don't try and, if you're like me and the thought of taking your children out just freaks you out, you know, plan activities at home, even something really tiny like, I get Urgent to help me make his lunch sometimes, and for me that's like a little miracle and a mini victory. Make sure you make time for yourself, and be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. You are not alone. It's just, it has a stigma attached to it. Mental health is so important, but sadly it's not given the same importance as other illnesses. But I just want you to know you're not alone. And yeah, if you ever want to talk, I'm also here.